Okay, guess what? I'm early again. What a surprise. I'm always early. But boy, I tell you, how confusing was all that? Now, I didn't see all the hullabaloo. Well, I did, but I didn't see what was causing it. And I I am I am confused as well. So, what I can say is that I'm wondering if part of it, the confusion over the video that published this morning, if it is because of the name change of the channel, if people saw Rain Country Live under the video and thought that meant I was live, when actually that was a section. If you watch it, you could tell it was an edited section from a previous video live I had shot on, I'd done from the other channel. But the way people are talking about it makes it sound like YouTube was putting it out there to people like that was a live show, and then everyone was getting confused. But just like I've been doing for several weeks, Sunday mornings at 8 my time, Pacific Standard Time, was when I publish that section I had taken out of the live show from the other channel. But what I'm doing, I still have a few more of those that will come out. But since I won't be doing any more live shows on that channel, I just have a few more. So what I did was I scheduled them to publish on Monday rather than Sunday. So when people know I'm going live, they won't see that and think, oh, this is the live. Wait, how did I miss it? And so I don't know if that was it either, but I was putting out the direct link to this, so I'm still not sure what happened there. So what I would like to know is if people were seeing like the little red symbol, the little red box with the word live written in white. Were you seeing that? Was it showing up like that was really live? Because if so, that is definitely a glitch and that was bizarre. So I don't know if it was that or if it was simply the confusion of people going, "Oh, she's going live." And then instead of going through the link I gave, they go over to the channel, and then the first video that they see is the one that just published this morning, which was not live. So either way, I'm going to try to make it so it's not so confusing. But if some people might not have realized that I did change the name of this channel to Rain Country Live because that's what's going to set it apart from the main channel. So this will be where I do all my live shows, but I'll still put extras over here. Like I'll still put some shorts, maybe some older videos that I've remastered will go over here. And that way I can still have some content coming out here on a more regular basis instead of just the two lives. I can only have 2 days to do that. That's Wednesdays and Sundays because those are the only days a week currently I don't have any grandbabies. There will be some Mondays I don't, but since I'll have done a live the day before, I probably won't wanna do that again. It's a lot of wear and tear on my vocal cords that makes it kinda rough. So, do I still need channel hours? Well, first of all, I'll say that I am now fully monetized. I'm My super chats are enabled, my super thanks are enabled. I didn't even know what super thanks was, but you can actually go to a channel who has that enabled. And if you click the three dots, under the screen, one of the options you get to select from the menu is the super thanks for the people who, just people who want to. I'm not asking for that, but some people just might not even know that's an option. I didn't really even understand it as an option because I just don't, those are things I don't focus on. But I'm also now, for as of this morning, able to monetize all of my videos here, and which means, I did check and I don't think there's any mid-roll ads on any of them. So now I have complete control over that, thankfully. So that's nice. Um, and since I was able to link it to the AdSense account I already have out from my other channel, I think all my defaults as far as that go just carry over. So I think that's why I was looking. It's like, oh, these already show no mid-roll ads are selected. But I don't know, maybe you have to intentionally select that. I don't know. So, what time do you aim to go live on? With same times. So it'd always be the same time. I set the time at 11:45 Pacific Standard Time, which of course is going to depend on where you are in the US, where you are in the world, what time that is to you. I was trying to set it at noon, but I always go early. So I said at 11:45 and then I still come on 10 minutes early, sometimes 15 minutes before that. So but my point, my goal is to always start the actual, like, on Sundays. Today, I will have a set topic that I'll be talking about, and Mr. Rain may or may not join me on those, when I'm talking about that stuff. Depends on whether or not he has any input. And then but then, start that at the hour mark. So at my time, that would be noon. It'd be 15 hours or 15 now, not 15 hours, 15 minutes from right now would be when I start the topic. So, um, but I like to have this opening time to kind of chat, give people time to come in that want to be a part of all that live so they don't miss any of the really important stuff. But yes, I did finally get enough watch hours and approved watch hours that I can now fully monetize, which is really cool. And that is thanks to all of you. However, that doesn't mean the watch hours aren't still good, because the watch hours, those things help get your, I mean, don't do the extra work if it's too much. I mean, I appreciate everything everyone's done, but for any channel, no matter whoever your favorite channel is, anytime you let their videos play in the background, that is going to help them. You give them the watch hours, because I think we get paid more when we get more watch hours on a video, watch time, than we do if someone just watches a minute or two. But that also boosts the channel, in just like the comments and the likes and the people subscribing, people sharing, all the interaction, no matter good or bad interaction, doesn't matter. All of it helps to get a channel put out in the algorithms. YouTube bots will see that and go, "Oh, this video here is getting a lot of attention. Or this channel is getting a lot of attention. Let's make sure more people can see it." So that's basically how it works. So yeah, people who are willing to do that, thanks, because that does help me a lot. But thankfully, I'm there now. And I did kind of guess it pretty close about how long it was going to take before I was able to get fully monetized. And I was pretty much right on the money. So, just based off how the first week went. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, anyway, I've been seeing people coming in. I see Tyler and Deb and Trina and Karen and Sandra and Jesus is here. His sweetie. And do I have another Karen? I see Karen Smith, Michelle, Carol. Thank you, everyone. I know there's going to be more popping in. Thank you, Tammy. And anyway, I am so sorry about all that confusion, though. That was just the weirdest doggone thing. Because a lot of people were confused, Tammy. It wasn't just you. And I'm like, what is happening here? Because actually, the first comment I came across was by Gudrun. We always call her Kleenex because we don't know how to say her screen name. And I'm like, and then as I scrolled down, I'm like, wait, what is happening? Deb was confused. I'm just like, this is bizarre. So I'll just make it so that on this channel, I don't have any other videos publishing on the same day that I'm going to do a live. I'll just move them out another day. So that should help. And then just understanding that the channel name is also Rain Country Live, but it's not the video isn't actually live unless you see either the little red dot on the screen or the little red live thing. Then it shows that it's actually live. So hi, Tara, or Tara. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I know it's pronounced both ways, or depending on who you are. And okay, so while I still got time before I get into the topic of secondhand finds, this is going to be more than just me showing off, by the way, the things I've come across and collected over the years, but it's going to be more than that. So, why secondhand is great. But before I get into that, I'll talk about a few off topic things. And one is, so I've been sharing with you guys about the little silicone liners, the ones that cover the whole inside of the lid. Well, I linked to on the other videos I did, I linked to the Amazon link because that's where I got it. But then someone shared with me they're also available on Azure Standard. I didn't know that. I missed that one. They have so much stuff that I don't think to go look for certain things. If it's a food related item I'm looking for, excuse me, I'll think to go look. But anyway, so what I wanted to show you is here's a jar of some usnea we collected from the other piece of property. And these particular lids, they're craft lids. Now, what I've done with these craft lids to make them more food safe, because they're craft lids, they're not meant to be used with food, but I like the way they look for using on jars that I have out where they can be seen, like my jars of herbs that I typically am going to be most likely used for teas that you'll see sitting on my kitchen counter on that little shelf that Patrick built. And I love the way these rustic lids look. So what I've done in the past was just melted, I'll put a couple of beads of beeswax in there and then set it on my wood stove and let it melt. Because this is, this is metal. And that would make it more food safe and help give it a little, little bit of a seal. But I decided, oh, I've got these little things. I can use these in here too. I'd probably still do the beeswax because it just protects the lid and makes it last longer. But when I first tried it, I couldn't get it to catch the threads. But now I can, because I found the trick is you got to make sure. So if you got lids like this or any lids that fit on any kind of canning jar, regular mouth or wide mouth, and you decide to get these, you really got to kind of press them down along the edges there, so that, and then make sure this little tab right here is facing out, because that's so you can grab it and pull it out, and then it will catch the threads on your jar. So a little tip there. I was so glad I was able to get that to work for the things where I think it matters the most, that I get a good airtight seal. So was there something else? Seems like there was something else I was going to mention. Oh, so here's another thing. I got this email 2 days ago, and it was really disheartening. So a few years ago, a company called EMP Shield had reached out to us and said, "Hey, we're going to give you a few of these things if you want to try them out and share them. You can become an affiliate." And so we talked back and forth with them, learned as much as we could. We looked at their, web page, but you know how there's always stuff you miss. And Patrick did like 3 or 4 videos of him installing them, like one on the house, one on his dump truck, one on his excavator. I was thinking there was another one, but I don't know. Anyway, well, I've made all those videos private, and I'm removing that link from all my videos. I've already removed it from the uploads because I'm a little annoyed by this email I got from somebody who had bought some, because me and a couple other channels, or our channel and a couple other channels, were sharing this. Well, here's the problem with a product like that. We can only trust what we're being told, and we can only trust what the mil specs on the website say. Well, these people had installed these things. They had an electrician come look at it, after they had it installed, an electrician friend. They said, "Yeah, it all looks good." Well, then they had a power surge, and EMP Shield wouldn't cover it. And the reason they wouldn't cover it is because I guess there's some small print that we didn't even know about either, that says unless you have an electrician install it, they're not going to cover it if it doesn't work and you got equipment that gets destroyed. Well, that means since Patrick, he's not, even though he's knows about that kind of stuff, he knows how to do that kind of stuff. And they've seen the videos. We've sent them the videos of him installing this stuff. Not a word was said to us. And he's not a licensed electrician. So that means if anything happens to our stuff, it's all null and void. So I am no longer going to be recommending that product because I think that just really upset me. I really, really get angry when a product I've recommended, I mean, because it seems to me that should have been something we were all told right from the start. And I guess if you go look at their website and I mean, they have several pages and you dig deep, you can find that little thing that, we won't honor it if you didn't have a licensed electrician install it for you. So some of this is an apology to anyone who may have bought that. And if you did buy them, make sure you have a licensed electrician install it and get a receipt so that if something goes wrong, you have something to prove. Because apparently they'll still honor it if you do that, but ours won't be honored. Even though they watch the videos, they didn't tell us, oh, well, since you're not a licensed electrician, we just want your videos so we can use them for ads. I'm very upset about this. Um, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. I had been having some uneasy feelings for a while, but I thought maybe it was just me. And then I got that email and I'm like, I was right to have uneasy feelings. So um, I need to go. It's going to be a long, since I've had that link, my affiliate link in my videos for a few years now, it's going to take me a long, long time before I can get around to removing it from all my videos. But I've taken it out of all the videos yet to publish. I've taken it out of the upload defaults and I've taken it out of some of the more recent and more popular videos, current popular videos. So anyway, I'm really sorry. I'm just, I guess those of us who, this is why typically I just delete emails when I get emails every single day, several of them every day from some company wanting to hook up with. I won't even look at them. Delete, delete. I block them actually. Mark them as spam and block them. But this was kind of different because this was a US based business. We were dealing more kind of almost more face to face with people and we felt we could really trust them. And no, SP mom, I didn't think to call them yet. I only just found out like Friday evening, early evening, Friday afternoon. So, and they're back east. I'm just not really sure right now. I don't know. Anyway, it's upsetting to me because I try to be very, very honest with people about any company I'm hooking up with. The way how I feel about, it's just like the Nakano knives. I tried to tell people that, do I think you need to invest in the fancy knives that I have, especially since I got a good part of the most expensive ones for free? I didn't have to pay for those, but I am so thrilled I have them. So I'm going to be very honest about how I feel about them, but I'm also going to be very honest about the fact that, do I think you need them? No. No, I'm not going to encourage you to run out and spend your money on expensive knives if you have perfectly good knives that you've been using for the past 20 years and you still love them. Use what you got. But for those people who are looking for some good knives, and well, here it is. Here's my, this is the trade-off. I do the video, I get the free knives, but I'm also being honest. So it really is painful to me when something that I really believed in, at least initially, kind of lets us down like that, especially after I know people have bought the product using our link. So it's frustrating. It is to the point where it's like, it's another reason why I won't do sponsorships. So from now on, instead of even promising to do a video on a product I've never used before, I'm only from this point on going to do reviews on products that I've been using for a while. Then maybe I can contact the company and say, "Hey, I've been using your product. I really like it. Would you be willing to affiliate?" That's what I did with Mother Earth Products. They didn't even have affiliates until me. I was using their products and really happy with them. And I just decided to contact them one day. And they were super, super nice people. I'm like, hey, we can set you up an affiliate and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh man, that'd be so cool. So I think I was their very first affiliate. So that's how I'm going to do it from now on because Art forgot. I was talking about the EMP shield. I'm going to say from now on, don't buy it. And if you did buy it, and you haven't installed any of them yet, get a licensed electrician to do it and make sure you get a receipt. Otherwise, it won't be honored. So anyway, yeah, you love that night. Did you Thistle Moon? Was that? I might be missing some of that, but is that the Nakano? I really love the micarta knives, but boy, they are pricey. But I can tell they're definitely a lot harder steel because I've never had to. I use them a lot, and I have yet to need to sharpen those particular ones. Right, we just pray we never need an EMP shield. And I think Tyler said something, and he's saying something there. I worked at Boeing when they did extensive EMP testing, except for your link to the grid and any electric fence chargers. Only a military grade gamma device can damage your devices or car. So, and it seems like Tyler said something like that. It seems like you said something like that in either another live show, and that was another one of those little things, or maybe it was when you were talking to us on the phone. And I got to thinking about that again and just getting more and more uneasy about it. So I no longer recommend them, just like I won't recommend Lion Energy for very similar reasons. And that they were going to compass all this equipment. We were so excited because we needed a new battery bank, and we're like, oh, this is going to be great. But our power room was too small, so Patrick did all that work expanding out that room, putting the money and time in building that room. We had been communicating back and forth, back and forth. We still have the email string to prove it, to prove what they were going to compass. And then when he finished the room, he emails and say, okay, we're ready for you guys. Never heard another word back from them. Tried several times. They kept bouncing us from person to person, or they wouldn't talk to us at all. And finally, just all communications, just nothing. No reason why. They decided to not work with us all of a sudden after we put in that time and money. So I don't recommend Lion Energy because of that either. That seems very dishonest. So I am still using halal every day, Wendy. I probably should put the link back in there. The reason I took it out was I had a lot of people just lecturing me about that simply because of the name of the company. Even though it's a small US based company, even though they have really great products for a great price, especially if you use my affiliate link, which Wendy, if you email me, I can send it to you. I still buy the shea butter and beeswax there because I love their shea butter, and or is it organic? I think so, but whatever. I mean, it's like the best price. Their castor oil, their organic castor oil, hexane free, is the best price. They have a lot more stuff. I was seriously thinking about getting the EMP shield at one time, but my breaker box didn't have the openings available. I'd have to hire an electrician for a new, yeah. Yeah, Brenda, I'm glad you didn't buy it yet. So anyway, but I need any ideas? Need a whole house system? See, oh, it's actually time for me to get started on my topic. Uh, I don't know about that. I'll just try to answer this the best I can because as far as that goes, Brenda, was it Brenda? No, I'm sorry, SP Mama. Um, we don't have a whole house set up. We have for the house, we're still connected to public water, but we have our rainwater catchment. And when I say I got to bring up water, that's what I'm talking about because we use the rainwater catchment that we then filter. That's the water that we drink. That's the water we give to the dogs. That's the water I give to the chickens. It's the water I use for cooking and, anything that we're going to consume. And so every day I have to rotate through my jugs of water, the clean water. So that's what we do. But maybe someone, yeah, that's right. The Cowling clay and bentonite clay, they have really great prices. I've got that from there too. But I might just go ahead and put that link back in there. I don't get, even though it's an affiliate link, they haven't paid me anything in a long time. So I don't know if that was just a temporary thing. However, the 15% off coupon is still good. It's always good. It's good. I can use it too. So to me, that's good enough. So not only is it a good price, I can still use that 15% off coupon and get the 15% off. So I really am happy with them. Now, Azure Standard does have some things, but now I can't remember what. I can't, do they have skin related? Well, I know they have coconut oil, and I don't get my coconut oil at Halal every day. But I either get it, I've got some from Azure Standard, and then I get the unrefined from Costco because they have the best price on the organic unrefined coconut oil. Anyway, let's get started on the topic before I get too far off. So, because I'm already 5 minutes late. Well, here it says 2 minutes late. I guess that clock is fast. Okay, I'm only 2 minutes late getting started on the topic. So I'm talking about some of my favorite secondhand finds. Now, before I get into some of these things, let's see. When I order from them, I have talked to the order. He thinks you're great. Oh, cool. Yeah, they seem like really nice. The owner, there we go. They seem like really nice people. Oh, almost forgot my greeting because I still got to make that separate video, right? So, hello everyone. Heidi here from Rain Country Homestead, or Rain Country, or whatever you want to call it, or Rain Country Live in this case. God is good all the time, and thanks for dropping in. So today we're talking about my favorite secondhand finds and more. So let's get to this. Now, where do I start? I brought some things in, but obviously not everything. I can't bring everything in here. But the first thing on my list was cast iron. So that the picture. So the thumbnail picture you see are two of my very favorite cast iron skillets, both of them found secondhand at the same place. So I clean them up really good. Usually what I do if I get secondhand cast iron, I will burn it. People get all bent out of shape over that, but I do it the old fashioned way. And this is old cast iron. The one is kind of a wok shape. And I was able to, I think it was about 100 years old. The other one isn't that old, even though it has a date on it. I thought when I first bought it, because it's got a date on it, that it was like 100 years old, but the date is more, I think it was like a commemorative piece or whatever you call it. What do you call it? An anniversary piece. I don't know. So, but I love those two skillets. Two of my favorite skillets are ones I found secondhand. So I burned them, then re-seasoned them, and I love them so much. So then some of the other cast iron pieces I get that I've collected are pieces like this. Now, this is the one you'll always see hanging in the kitchen. This one, I just went ahead and decided to use this as a decorative piece. And this is a Wagner, but I have one that looks exactly like this. It's not a Wagner. The main difference is that it has taller feet, which I like for using with the wood stove. So I like the shorter ones, but I already have some other shorter footed ones. Then I have a couple that have taller feet that they're at least twice that. And that's what I use to adjust the heat whenever I'm cooking anything on the wood stove, or I just want to keep it warm. So I set it up on the tallest one when I'm basically just trying to keep something warm, and something like this if I'm wanting to cook it very slowly so it doesn't get too hot. So I use those a lot. All of the cast iron trivets I have bought secondhand. What do I mean by burning the cast iron? Well, the old-fashioned way to do it was to build a big old people would do this like once a year. They'd take all their cast iron, build a big old fire outside, and throw their cast iron in the fire to burn off all of the seasoning plus all of just the buildup. And then they would re-season them. Now, a lot of people don't recommend doing that. And I've practically seen virtual fist fights break out in cast iron groups on Facebook over this very thing. But my thinking that because people say you're going to warp or crack your cast iron, yet people were doing what their grandma did. So I'm wondering if it is actually possible that maybe the newer cast iron can't handle the heat the same way, that kind of heat, the older cast iron. But I've done this with several cast iron pieces. Ones I've purchased used, especially. I've never done it with ones I bought brand new, but any of the used ones I bought, I've done that with. Just burn them to make sure everything comes off of there. Especially since I don't know with that cast iron, where was it sitting? I mean, it looked like that cast iron had been sitting in storage somewhere for a long time. I don't know if rice, mice or rats or whatever could have been climbing on it. I want to definitely sterilize it and then basically start from scratch. There's other ways to do it. People use other ways to strip them down. And that's just what I did. And then, but for my sake, for us, I just put it in the wood stove. Get a good hot fire and then put it in the wood stove and let everything burn off and then bring it out. So, anyway, yeah, and then just reseason it. Now, so that's just some cast iron. So you can find a lot of great cast iron pieces at garage sales. People who know what they're worth, even the rusty pieces, they might still charge quite a bit for them because they know they've got value, because rusty pieces can be brought back. And I've done it. So, um, it takes, Tammy, there's several different ways of doing that. I know some people use like an electrolysis method that works pretty quickly. What does Tyler say here? Burying cast iron in the embers of an open fire works every time for me. Don't put cast iron in a wood stove. Drafted fire can get hot enough to soften and warp. Okay. Yeah, I haven't had any problem, Tyler, doing it in wood stove, but having open fires out here is kind of rare. And we only have like one time of the year we can do that. And then it's usually so dry. They say no fires. But at any rate, let's see. So cast iron, anyway, Tammy, I do have a video on seasoning cast iron. How I do it. That's another one. I have a couple of videos about cast iron and using it and how I do it. I always say how I do it, how I clean it, because the opinions are just, there's many different opinions out there. Or there are people, and again, for some reason, can become such a heated topic. So, it's like I even made it a point in those videos to say, please don't burn me at the stake, because I'm going to share what I do. And some of you won't agree. But I do what works for me. So I want to try to stay on the topic right now. So I'll try to come back to questions later and whatever I don't get to today, but continue to put them in all caps. Whatever I don't get today, I'll write down, and then I'll cover those in Wednesday's live, same channel, same time. So anyway, the next one would be, I do have a few, you might see I put a few things on my counter over here and over here. I tried to put them on either side so they could be seen. It might still be hard to see them. So right there, as I'm pointing with my pencil, is my silver teapot. You've seen me talk about. That's actually from World War II, found it at a garage sale for $5. It's silver plated. It's not silver through and through. That right there is a jar. It was actually an old Avon jar. This was one of the things I brought home from my mom's, but it's a bale wire jar. I wanted to keep a couple of her blue glass pieces because those are really important to her. But right now I have some organic yogurt covered raisins from Measure Standard that are really yummy. That right there is a coffee grinder that's probably, I think I remember when I looked it up, it's from the 1940s as well. It was gifted to me by my father years ago, and I actually used it as a coffee grinder for a long time. That was my coffee grinder, but it's an Italian brand. I have a video just on that. And is there something next to it? I can't tell. Do I have something there? Oh, yeah, I do. I have that coal iron. So I have that I've never used. Right now, it's just what do you call it, a conversation piece because I like to collect the vintage and antique pieces. So in my description box down below, you'll find a link to a video I did this last year on why I collect vintage and antique pieces, even if I'm not going to use them or have no intention of using them right away. But one of those being is I may at some point need to use this coal iron. Maybe I actually need to iron something and I don't have, maybe my solar power isn't working. Maybe everything got fried from something, or it's middle of winter and there's no sun and no solar collection and we don't have a public power. Well, I can always iron with this. And then on this opposite side, oh, there's another cast iron piece. Let's see if I can get myself moved the right way. So there's a cast iron teapot I found secondhand. There's an oil lamp I got for $3 at a garage sale. And boy, it's hard to tell. Oh, the jar, it's got citrus peels in it. Also a secondhand find. I think it was just a garbage find, really. Bale wire jar. And then a pile of books, just a very small pile of the many vintage and antique books I've collected. In fact, in Wednesday's live show, you would have seen me showing off one of the kids' books I have is kind of fallen apart. Here's another one that I've picked up somewhere. You can see it's, I went to look for the copyright and I couldn't find the copyright, but then realized I didn't need that because I'll show you real quick. If I can find it now. Where'd it go? This is kind of falling apart too. So it is also very delicate. Where did I just see that? There it is. It was a birthday present. You probably can't see the words very well, but the date right there, 1908. So it was gifted to somebody on their birthday, 1908, January 21st. Very cool, huh? So, like I was saying on Wednesday, if I do start that kids only channel where I can read kids books, that's what it would mostly be about, is just reading kids stories. I was kind of struggling with if I really would like to do that, but how am I going to do that if I got all this copyrighted material? And I'm like, wait a minute, I've got a lot of books that are 100 years old and older, which means none of them fall under the copyright anymore, which means I have lots of kid stories that I can read of all levels if I decide to do that. That's if I decide to do that, if I can make it work into my schedule. I'd really like to. But anyway, so the whole idea of some of these things is when not only do I just love vintage and antique pieces, I try to find, a lot of the times you're going to find pieces that are not only very well made, because back then things were made to last, not so that you have to buy it again in 6 months or next year, but they were made to last. And a lot of times, just like the coffee grinder over there, they're made to be used without electricity. I even have an ice crusher that I think was from the color of it tells me I think it's from the 70s that I found for $1 at a garage sale. Perfect condition. And it's green, which is one of my favorite colors. So, and I show that in that video down below. I didn't bring it in here now, but, and then I mentioned the oil lamp. Well, I've got a lot of oil lamps around here and lanterns and camp lanterns. Those are all out in Patrick's shop that we have found at garage sales for really cheap. And then this was also a secondhand find. It's one of my favorite ones for a small one. And this was actually, I'm thinking it was from the 70s because initially this has got a peg. This glass thing is all one piece. It has a little peg that goes down, supposed to go down into this box that it came with. But the box was like fiberboard with some kind of paper over it to make it look like it was wood. And that part was ugly, but I loved this. So Patrick took the box off and then created this piece out of walnut. So Patrick fabricated this so it would have something to sit into, because obviously he couldn't really grind down that glass. It wouldn't have been a good idea to do that. And I'm not even sure if it's hollow down in there. It could have been. So this one gets used. This one stays on our dining room table, and always that gets used whenever there's a power outage. So you can find all kinds of oil lamps and candles. A lot of times candles that have never even been lit or were lit once. And I'm not talking just little votives and tea lights, which I found a ton of those, but you can find some really nice pillar candles, and pillar candles can be expensive. I have some that are like this big around and that tall, some that are that tall and that big around. I have quite a few. I can look around this room and see tons of candles because I was starting to collect them back when I was still teaching dance and martial arts in here. And I made sure I always had candles and all around so that I could light them in the event of a power outage in the middle of class, which happened. In the wintertime, you get a, you know, it gets dark here in the wintertime at by 4:30, right in the on the shortest days. Well, I'm in the middle of class. My classes would start maybe 3:30 or 4 o'clock, and then I'd have 2 classes back to back, and I had the power go out on me a couple times. Girls are screaming. It'd be pitch black in here, and I just go around, start lighting candles. Just calm down, calm down. Little girls just screaming their heads off because that's what little girls do. I think so. I think they most of it was they really like to hear the sound of their own voice because we didn't have any furniture in here. We have a high ceiling, vaulted ceiling, so that we'd have lots of room for big jumps and lifts and whatever. And when the girls would come in here, they knew that they could get this really, get this sound or their voice coming back to them. So I think they enjoyed that. But boy, it was hard on the ears, let me tell you. Anyway, yeah, it's hard to find the non-toxic smelly candles. It is. Even, at garage sales, you find a lot that aren't, that have added scent and all that. But the thing is, in the event of a power outage, if that's all you have, it's something. Kerosene isn't the best thing to be breathing in, but kerosene is something people used for centuries. So, um, it's exactly, Michelle. It's contagious. One starts screaming and then they all start screaming. Girls. I know because I am one, though. I don't remember being that screamy. Maybe I was. I just don't remember. I was a very, very shy, introverted child. I'm still pretty introverted despite how I may appear. But okay, moving on from there. What else do I have? So bottles. Yeah, you can find mason jars. You can find a lot of the mason jars. I stopped buying mason jars because I ended up getting so many from garage sales. I stopped buying the mason jars years ago. And some people just gifting a bunch to family members. Oh, I'm not canning anymore. Here, you want the? Oh, sure. We have so many mason jars that we have some stored in an offsite location because I don't have room for them all here. But I don't want to throw them away in case maybe I'll break some. Maybe, maybe I want to gift them to my daughter-in-law, whatever. I want to make sure that we have them. But not just mason jars, but good bottles. Like at one garage, I think I paid 25 cents a piece, 50 cents a piece for these. They're beer bottles. Now, I don't know if it was from somebody making and bottling their own beer or what, but they had like 3 or 4 of these. And they're dark and they have a small opening, making them perfect for storing tinctures I'm working through. So, like this particular one is my pain tincture. That's probably upside down. Not like you could actually read my handwriting, but so I mean, I'll have jars of my tinctures, but then when I'm ready to use them, and it's something that we're going to use on a more regular basis, like this, or the deep sleep, or the antibiotic that we might need to use on a more regular basis, then I store them in this because this actually sits on top of the uh, refrigerator in a box that I've got a cover around it to help prevent so much light exposure, but then being also in a dark bottle also help prevent the light exposure, but really cheap. So I love those things. They get used on a very, very regular basis. So a lot of the stuff I'm focusing on, by the way, to start with, are things that I find valuable in the form of they get used a lot. And this is the reason some of them are my more favorite items, such as the cast iron trivets and the cast iron skillets. And then I've also found some really high quality stainless steel pots, like a set of pots with the glass lids or I've got 2 different sets. One has stainless steel lids, one has the glass lids. Love those things. Garage sale find. Great deals. Great deals. I don't remember what I paid for them, but they were excellent deals, and they're high quality stainless steel. And so if I'm not cooking in cast iron, usually I use cast iron for baking like breads and um, cooking things like eggs and the beef bacon or frying things. And then the stainless steel pots get used for, things, liquid things I'm going to boil, or cooking up some pasta, making soups and so on, sauces, etc. And then the glass. I have some glass bakeware that I'll use for various things, be it, making pies. Yeah, I do have some casserole dishes that are glass and pie. I said pies, so the pie pans, but what else? Uh, your 9 by 13 pans. So that kind of stuff. Oh, and then one thing I don't always think to mention. Oh, I do have the big cast iron pizza pan. I like that thing for making my, not just making pizza, but I'll do, uh, I just did them 2 days ago, like my butter crescent rolls. I like to bake them on there because I can spread them out on there easier. And then, but the other cookware I do use once in a while, I know I'm supposed to be talking about secondhand stuff, is the, stoneware. So I have stoneware cookie sheets. So I use those for cookies. I love those too. But I would use cast iron just as easily for that. So cast iron's great. So that's actually 4 different things that I use most commonly. So no aluminum here. Got rid of all my aluminum. At least I hope I got rid of all my aluminum. Let's see. Moving on from the bottles, so bottles, jars, and whatnot, you can also find camp ovens. Now, I've talked about the camp stoves. I talked about the camp oven. You can't see. Let's see if I can turn this. I've shown it before. Right over there, you see with the doll sitting on there. And it's got this thing hanging over it just for a decor piece. But it's a camp oven with a stove top on it. But that we bought brand new. I've only used it a couple of times, but it's more of a backup for baking breads and pies in that I want to get brown. I want to be able to brown, and so it's sitting next to the sliding glass door, so I can just open the sliding glass door and get good ventilation since it does run off propane. However, we have found like the camp stoves, usually there's just 2 burners and they fold up and you can just carry it. We found a couple of those for like $1 a piece at garage sales, and I've used it a couple of times, but just the fact that we got them so cheap, I like to tell people that you don't have to go buy brand new stuff. Just if you can just be patient and shop secondhand, and if you can't get out and about, there's always Facebook Market. There's eBay, but eBay you're going to be looking at typically higher price stuff, and it's not all secondhand. It's and shipping can kill you. Facebook Market is good because it's typically you're going to find more local stuff there, or even people advertising um, garage and estate sales. Estate sales are the best in your area, and you can find all kinds of great items like that. But now some eBay items I have bought that we did pay a little bit more money for, but it was worth it because I'm buying them because they are not only vintage slash antique, some are antique, some are vintage. But there were things I knew that I would most definitely use. So one of those being, if you saw our laundry setup, I've got a few videos on it. On this channel, I have the one that I redid of Patrick building the frame for the off-grid laundry setup, and it shows me at the beginning talking a little bit about it. But one of the things I bought on eBay was this agitator that I think is probably from the 40s, might be a little older than that. So this one's actually metal. I believe it's steel. And then the ringer. I don't remember what I paid for them, but they weren't cheap. But the ringer is actually officially antique now. It wasn't when I bought it, but it was made in 1924. So now it is officially an antique. So, and then the high chair. which you've seen me show. If you watch that video down below, you'll see the high chair because I wanted the old classic wooden high chair, not the cheap, garish looking plastic kind. And so far it's been used for 3 babies. There's another baby coming along, so it'll be used for another baby. And I love having that thing. And it is a beautiful high chair. It's all hardwood. And I don't know how old it is, but I do think it is antique. I paid a little more for that. So I could have one that because I love the look of it and I knew it was also going to be useful and I knew it was going to be made well and it is. I mean, you could pay that much for a fancy brand new one that's all plastic and have it last maybe through one baby. But anyway, I have an agitator just like that from my 101-year-old grandma who used it as a little girl, so probably from the late 20s. Okay. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, I don't recall if they had it. I think they just had a guesstimate because sometimes people find stuff and they just kind of guess. They don't really know for sure the year. And I think they said 40s, and I don't think the handle is the original handle. I think it was something that came off something else, but it's sturdy and it works. So I have used this. I love it when I'm doing the laundry, using the laundry, the off grid setup. It is great. So not only is it just cool because it is an old piece, very, and from what Michelle's saying, it could very likely also be antique. Um, it's useful. These are useful items, just like that coffee grinder back there. It's a useful item. And the teapot, the silver teapot from World War II, from the captain's quarters Navy ship. And I know that because we found the logo after I bought it on the front for the Navy, and it says USN on it. And then I got to looking it up and found out that's actually the set that would come from the captain's quarters. So, well, I only have the teapot, but I've used that thing so many times. Is Patrick in here? Is he being naughty? Because I see somebody, I don't see a wrench. Does he not have a wrench in here? He should. Oh, you're just telling Mr. Rain he better watch out because I have all this cast iron and even this. This could be a scary thing too. It's kind of heavy because it's not that cheap plastic garbage you can buy on Amazon. So what else? So the high chair, the ringer, the agitator. They don't call this an agitator. I call it an agitator because that's what I'm doing with it. I'm agitating the clothes. It's got another name for it. But then some other things I have bought secondhand. This is back in when I was going through those several years where I was just pumping out skirt after skirt after skirt after skirt and aprons. I was finding all kinds of secondhand sheets, tablecloths, curtains, even scarves, all pillowcases, just whatever. Fabrics. So fabrics of all kinds that I was using to make skirts and aprons and even for myself. And so secondhand and other things too, like the flannel sheets. The first flannel sheet I found at a garage sale got used for making a lot of stuff, a lot of little things. So we're talking more the feminine products and more. And that's where I first got started in that. And that was years ago. And I think I paid 50 cents for that sheet. It was just a big flat sheet, just one. Obviously, the stuff gets washed up. So, okay, what's Tyler doing? I bought an oven roaster for $5 because the lid wouldn't fit tight. I had the warp removed in about 5 minutes. Works great now. So that's probably not the comment that was being referred to. Hers has a wood handle like a broom handle. That's what this seems like to me, Michelle. It seems like it's a broom handle. So maybe it could be the original. I'm just not sure. Anyway, okay. What are some other good items? But yeah, I mean, whatever you can't, let's say you've got all this fabric yourself from old flannel shirts and jeans. So I was talking about this like in the upcycling, recycling show I did. But you can find a lot of secondhand materials or even just fabric by the yard. I have found some really great, lovely fabric that somebody had bought several yards of and then never did anything with it and then turned around and sold that whole piece for 75 cents. It's so great. I made myself a beautiful skirt, one of the first skirts when I was starting to get into making this style, and I kind of created it on my own. I made from this lovely black fabric. It was a by the yard fabric, and I made a couple aprons out of it because there was so much fabric there. And I love that skirt and the aprons I've made from that. Here comes Patrick. He must have heard his name. Are you coming to stay? You got to sit on this side. You messed me up when you sit on this side, and I already have a chair for you. He doesn't pay attention. Here, you can use that right there if you want. I'll move this little oil out. There we go.
I'm secondhand.
Well, I did write down some secondhand stuff.
I feel used and abused.
But I would like to finish getting through my list because I may never get back to it once he starts talking about his secondhand finds. I did write some of them down just in case he didn't show up. But okay, I talked about stainless steel pots and the fabrics, candles. Okay, dehydrators. So even though all of those dehydrators have since bitten the dust, you can find some dehydrators because the ones I found were like the Nesco ones. And the newer Nescos don't last very long, I'm finding. The older ones last forever. Well, just like most things. Let's see, heads up, new flannel sheets are pitiful imitations of the older ones. You know, Linda, I've also found some of them are not all 100% cotton. It used to be flannel was always 100% cotton.
Engineered obsolescence, folks.
And now they mix in a bunch of garbage into them. But anyway, it was still worth the price I paid for those Nescos. I paid $5 for one of them and $3 for the other secondhand one. And I used them until I ran them out. And I got a lot of use. It was definitely worth the total of $8 I spent. Because to buy those same ones brand new, I don't know what it is now, maybe $50 or so ish. I haven't looked them up, so I don't know. But I've had people tell me they have found some Casoris and Excaliburs and other such at garage sales. And then there's like, for us, we found those, even though I already had the All-American canner that we bought brand new, it's the second to the biggest one. So it will hold 2 rows, but you can put a total of, I think, 14 quart jars, 16 pint wide mouth pints, or 18 regular mouth pints. I love that. However, what I don't love about it is if I just want to can a little bit of something because I don't know if I'm going to like it that much and I don't have anything else to can with it. And when we found those 2 All-American canners at a garage sale down the road, it was also an estate sale. So we found a lot of great stuff down there, but the canners were probably the best find. Oh, and yeah, she was only going to charge $5 a piece for them. And one didn't look like it had been used at all. And the other one looked like it had hardly been used.
Right.
So one it only holds about 4 quart jars. And I don't know how many pints. I'm guessing maybe 6. I don't recall. I've used it a few times. And then there was one a little bit bigger than that. So I gave the bigger one to my daughter-in-law and kept the smaller one for myself so I can do trial batches. It's great. I love that because I decided I really wanted to try just canning zucchini instead of, though I love dehydrating most of my zucchini, I thought it would be nice to can some just to see what I thought because I know it can get soft really quick. So I did some looking. I want to make sure I'm not canning it for too long, blah, 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 blah. And I threw a grape leaf in there to help hold the crispness. And it turned out all right. But I'm still glad I tried it and was able to do just a small batch. Because that's the other thing is, even if you do have other stuff you can with it that you might want to pressure can, different things are going to process for different times. And you don't want to overdo something like the zucchini can very easily be overdone. So anyway, the point being though, that she was only selling them for $5 a piece. You can find canners at garage sales for really cheap. If you look, even the All American, we did pay her twice what she was asking because it just seemed right thing to do because it was such a good deal. I'm like,
And that was still too cheap.
yeah, it was. I still kind of feel like maybe we were being too cheap, but yeah. Anyway, it's like, here, we're gonna pay you $10 a piece for them, and I'm really glad that we found those. And then we've got, I mentioned books, and then this wasn't a garage sale find, but you can find these at garage sales, but it was still a secondhand thing. And you've heard me talk about my Treadle machine. The machine itself I bought brand new because there is such thing as brand new Treadle machines. But what a lot of people don't realize is that a Treadle machine is, when you buy it brand new, it doesn't come with a table. You have to go find a table. There are places that make them, like, I always forget the name of that place. It starts with an L. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's back east.
Lehman's?
Yeah, that place. They make and sell them. They're very expensive, which is understandable because of what they're made out of. But my Treadle table, I was blessed to have handed down to me from my mother-in-law. And when I first got it, I just put my electric machine on top of it, had it all folded up and put the electric machine on top, or however it worked. Because I think you could have it open, but there was a piece you could put over where the sewing machine sits, and then I would just set the electric one on top. But then when I was like, man, I really want to have a Treadle machine, I'm like, I think this thing should work, this table, and sure enough, it does. So one of my very, very favorite secondhand pieces that was gifted to me, but I don't know how many times I have seen full setups with the Treadle table and the machine, and we're talking like the old ones, the the vintage and antique,
and whites and whatever,
and everything's there. Sometimes maybe not everything's there. You might still need to buy belts, but those are pretty cheap and easy to find. You can find them on Amazon.
And those are really cheap. A lot of times you can get those for pennies on the dollar. A lot of times people are just getting rid of them. They're getting tired of kicking them, and they were the great grandmas or whatever. And
right,
you find those in garage sales and Facebook Marketplace.
I've seen $100,
$125 is
and that's
not uncommon.
You're looking at a beautiful antique or vintage sewing machine, and the table alone is worth more than that.
Yeah, if the machine didn't even work, then you could take a modern Treadle machine, which you still can find, and actually retrofit it to work on that table.
Yeah. So before, I'm going to let Mr. Rain get into some of his favorite secondhand finds, but before I do, there was something I was going to say at the beginning I forgot because I got talking about other stuff. And I wanted to make this clear because on Wednesday, I was answering questions, and somebody had a question about metal and honey. And so as I was answering that question, some of my irritation over misconceptions that get spread was coming out, and she unfortunately took it like I was directing that at her, and it was not at all. And I thought I'd made it clear that obviously I totally understand honest questions because people like her, like myself, have been told wrong information from other people. And so I appreciate the fact that she was coming to ask to get clarification. And I hope she's listening at least, or she comes back on the replay and hears this, so that I did respond to her in the comments, but I wanted to make sure she understood that any irritation that was heard in my voice was not directed at anyone who has honest questions, because they're being told stuff that's confusing them. It's just over the whole thing where you've got people out there telling things that people things that, and they're saying it with authority, things that aren't true. And then
Botulism.
And just, and getting people all freaked out over stuff that they don't need to be freaked out of. And that's what irritates me. And also the people that they'll hear that, and instead of coming in and answering or asking an honest question like this lady did, they come in and start lecturing me how you're not supposed to use metal in honey. You're not supposed to use metal with bentonite clay. That's what irritates me, is the people that just, they hear one person make this claim that isn't even true, and then they go around and start beating up people over the head with it. That
what do you think they
irritates me.
make honey extractors out of?
Yeah, and
Usually they're
right,
stainless.
and that's what I was bringing up. And anyway, in case she's listening, or in case anyone else is listening and they hear me talk that way, please understand I am definitely not directing that irritation at honest questions. Please keep asking them. I am happy to answer them and try to straighten out the misconceptions that people are spreading over various things.
All right.
So remember, stainless steel is safe, for anyone who's wondering. You don't want to use aluminum and certain other metals, but stainless steel is a safe metal to use in your bentonite clay, in your ferments, and in your raw honey. Anyway, so what was it? Honey metal is okay to use. Yes. And so that's what I was trying to clarify. As long as it's stainless steel, it is safe to use. But I think
the reason for that is because it's non-conductive.
yeah, it's non-reactive, non-conductive.
404 stainless steel or
So
something.
I think part of what happens is that people will just be too general. Never use metal in honey. Well, if you're, you can just stay on the safe side and only use glass, wood, things like that. But I really wish people would be more specific and say, don't use any metal except stainless steel. So that way other people don't get on this bandwagon and run around and start lecturing people and beating them over the head with false information. So that's all I'm trying to say.
Save all the beating over the head for
him.
And
yeah, with the cast iron skillet. I didn't bring a skillet in, but I have this cast iron. This will work. And remember, I have the agitator. And that's big and heavy, and it's got a handle. So even if he tries to run, I can reach a little farther with it. Anyway, so Mr. Rain, I listed off a few of your heavy equipment, your wood lathe, metal lathe, etc. But if you would like to talk about some of your secondhand finds.
I just came in here to heckle.
Of course.
Yeah.
You guys love it.
So I don't have any heavy piece of equipment that is bought brand new. All right. Is everybody behaving?
Oh, yes. Yes, they're behaving. Right, Suze? They're behaving.
I mean, the last thing that I bought was the wood chipper. And I got paid $1,000 for it on Facebook Marketplace. Went and got it. Put a new jack shaft in it, bought extra parts just to have extra parts on hand. But I could have got away with, paying $1,200 for it, and it's up and running. It came with extra set of knives for $1,000, and you can buy those brand new for that particular model for around $4,000. I think that's before shipping. So yeah, second-hand stuff. Yeah.
I think almost everything you found was on Facebook Market, pretty much.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the heavy equipment was.
Yeah, not unless we went to garage sales, Facebook Market, and Craigslist and some of those different places. You can get good deals, but people are wanting top dollar for it. You go to garage sales, and a lot of times people are just kind of giving stuff away. I've come across, when we bought this other piece of property, I got a little Yanmar 1700 or YM 1700 little tractor. It was given to me with the property, and also a little wore out John Deere 111 lawnmower and also
Brain cramp.
Yeah.
You talking about stuff you got with the property? Because you got to.
Yeah, I got two riding lawnmowers with that. Yeah, and I got an old generator, but a couple old generators. They wasn't much. Already have some decent generators. I did get one. I bought did some earthwork for a guy, and he said, "Yeah, I got this 2000 Honda over here. This 2000i Honda 2000-watt generator." And this guy, I mean, seems like he changes oil every time he uses it. He's one of those guys. Everything's pristine in his shop and everything. And he says, "You want to? I'll sell you this generator for $500." And I said, "Okay, well, let's knock it off the bill. I'll take it." And so I use that for other things. We have a 3,000-watt generator that we bought years ago. So they're all quiet generators and stuff, but all kinds of hand tools you can buy. You can not even pay hardly anything for just hammers and nuts and bolts and wrench sets and pipe wrenches. I got a pipe threader at a garage sale for next to nothing, because it's some of those things that people don't use very much. Some people don't even know what this stuff is, and they're cleaning out grandpa's shop or whatever like that, and they find this old stuff, and nobody's interested in buying a pipe threader. So if I can get stuff like that cheap enough, I'll go ahead and buy it. And I use this stuff on occasion. I may only use it maybe once, might not even use it at all, but if I can get it cheap enough, at least it's there that I can use it. Let's see. Gosh, I think I made up a list here of stuff.
Oh, you
I got some stainless steel. I got some stainless steel fire extinguishers at a garage sale. I think I paid $1 for them, and they're like, I don't know, probably they're 2.5 feet tall. The old ones that you'd find in schools and whatnot, and you fill them up to a certain point with water and then charge them the rest of the way with air. And I have one sitting there next to our fireplace. And so if we ever get a fire out on the floor or something like that, I can quickly put it out. They're a lot cleaner than ABC fire extinguishers, and that's good for paper and wood. So, those are.
I'm sorry, Patrick, did we find a meat grinder or a meat slicer?
I purchased a meat grinder off Facebook Marketplace for a fraction of what was new. I can't remember what I paid for it, but the guy shipped it to me and everything. What he does,
that's right.
The gentleman takes apart restaurants that are either remodeling or going out of business. He'll go in and wreck the stuff out, and he'll turn around and sell this stuff. And this we got for a fraction of the cost. I bought this meat grinder, and when I got it home, I took it apart and looked at all the pieces of it. Everything looked really good. It looked like almost brand new. And so I went and bought an extra belt for it and extra bearings for it, which I'll probably never use. But so I think it's supposed to grind like 10 pounds per minute or something like that, some crazy number. But real nice grinder. So we're in the market one of these days to find a nice industrial meat slicer that has the sharpening stones on it and everything, like made by Globe or any of those industrial places, industrial grade type meat processing things. Oh gosh. Oh, shipping containers. If you're really patient, we actually got 2 shipping containers at different times. Took us a long
time.
20-footer and a 10-footer, and we have those. Those are really handy. I don't like to get anything over a 20-footer just because I can't personally move them myself. I can pick them up and move them around, but I can't transport them. My trailer's like 26 foot long, my equipment trailer. So I can move a shipping container by myself with my secondhand telehandler. It can lift 12,000 pounds. So shipping containers, 20-footers are less than 5,000 pounds a piece. So those are easy to move. Gosh, what else? A little dozer, dump truck, backhoe.
And then just keep in mind, this wasn't like all at once. This was like
Oh
over
no, this has been over a
years,
lifetime.
you know, of him shopping and waiting for something to come up that, because, you know, there are a lot of these things he was looking for, shopping for years.
Yeah.
And waiting for something like the Wood Miser was.
Yep. The Wood Miser was kind of in parts when I bought
Definitely
that.
a long time coming.
It was kind of it was an interesting situation. The gentleman who hired a contractor to build a big shop for him ended up, going through a divorce and having drinking issues and stuff like that. And the guy had bought a new sawmill. And when I think I bought it, I think it had less than like 81 hours on it. Some crazy low number like that.
I wouldn't remember.
And it'd been sitting there for a few years, quite a few years actually. You know, when I went over there to look at it, it didn't have any of the up-down chains on it or travel chains, or some of the parts were missing on it, or not necessarily missing, but just laying there next to the mill. And so think, well, this thing's only got 81 hours on it. And I got that thing for half price. It came with a bed extension, so I can cut up to like 45-foot long boards on it. It was a LT50 hydraulic super. And so it came with extra parts. So that was a long time looking. That was my second mill. My first mill years ago was an LT40 hydraulic. Let's see. What else?
There's lots of good comments in here. Some are good questions. Some are just like comments or people sharing things that they found.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of really cool stuff. Thanks for sharing, you guys.
Right. Questions and comments like that gives us more video fodder.
Video fodder is always a good thing.
So a lot of times when I buy some of this stuff, it ends up having a little bit, has a problem. Like the last thing that I got was that 3-point chipper, and it had a bent jack shaft on it. And so when I went and looked at it, you're kind of taking a little bit of a gamble when you're buying something like this, because it could be worse than what it is that you're actually finding. But I thought, you know what, I'm paying about a third to a quarter of the price. I can afford to throw some money at it. So got on the phone, looked at different parts for the thing, and then they were actually reasonable in the respect that, okay, well, I can afford to throw this much money at it and still be able to afford to fix it. Obviously time is, I guess I don't figure my time's worth much. So I went ahead and took the gamble and bought it. The excavator that I got it on auction, and it started sluggish. It took me a couple of years to figure out what the problem with that was. And that was the starter cable that ran from the battery to the starter. So I actually bought a starter for it. That didn't seem to help it. So I actually had another extra starter on hand, because starters and batteries are some of those things that actually, they go bad quickly, or before anything else, other than hydraulic hoses. Hydraulic hoses can make a really useful piece of equipment into a yard ornament in just split seconds. So anyway, batteries and starters, alternators, things like that are good to have on hand. So anyway, with the excavator, I went ahead and changed that starter. That didn't help it. And I troubleshot it down to changing out the high voltage lead from the battery to the starter, and that fixed it. So a lot of times these things you can lose your mind trying to figure things out.
Right.
I was thinking that is the ignition switch. So I cross-referenced some things and I bought a ignition switch, aftermarket ignition switch. A lot of times parts for particular equipment, if you look carefully at let's say the starter or the ignition switch, it can be used in several different pieces of equipment. And sometimes you're taking a gamble by ordering these things like on eBay or some other parts place. But if they look the same, a lot of times they are the same. So you take a little bit of a gamble. If you're buying it cheap, I screwed up. That didn't work, or threw a part at it. That didn't necessarily help. But the switch was another thing that was going bad in it, and I changed that out, and that worked. Let's see what else.
I like your idea, Deb, on the 70s chandelier. That was very cool. Oh, she says, I have a 70s chandelier that I took the wiring out of and glued small kerosene lamps where the light bulbs used to be. I keep mosquito oil in the lamps and it hangs on my front porch. That is very cool. Love that.
Right on.
Very cool idea. I'd love to see a picture of it. You should send me a picture.
Let's see. I bought a drill press for about $25.
Oh,
was
yeah.
it $25 or $10?
You spent $10.
$10 on that.
It was one of his very first
vintage
videos.
Yeah. I cleaned that up and I use that quite frequently.
$10.
Let's see. All but one of my planers I bought new or used. I got several planers anyway.
But I know I already mentioned, but like both that wood lathe that you use quite a bit. I think you have a couple of wood lathes, don't you? But one of them he got used. The metal lathe he got used. And
yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I told this one yet or not. I think I might have told this one a while back, but I went to a surplus auction for the school, and I bid on this Powermatic wood lathe. I think it's 902 or 900 or something like that. An old vintage heavy duty wood lathe. And what I didn't realize when I went to pick that up, I bought that for like $130. I think I paid like $136.55 for it. I was thinking, well, just in case somebody bids like 135, I'll bid 136. And in case they're thinking like I am and they build 136, I'll put another 52 cents on there or something like that, or something crazy like that. This was years ago. But anyways, I bid on this thing and I won it. And when I went to go pick this up, they said, oh yeah, this wood lays over here, and this wood lays over there, and this jointer is right here. And I looked at him. I said, what? Yeah, you got all three of these things. So for $135 and $136.55 or whatever it was that I'd spent, it was less than $140. I can guarantee you that. I got this Powermatic wood lathe, and you probably see that in some of my videos. And then I got another real nice Delta wood lathe, and I think they got like a 36-inch, 4-foot, piece that I can turn on there from headstock to tailstock. And
you said joiner.
The joiner was a WH joiner. Probably most of you probably haven't heard of a WH, but it's actually a really nice joiner. And it had never been used. Never been used. And I can guarantee this because when I brought it home, I'm thinking, this doesn't have a cord on it. So I got to looking, and where the cord actually comes out of the little housing there, I think you can wire it from 220 and 110. There's a little piece of paper on the hole where the cord comes out of the motor, and it was painted black. So this motor actually went through the factory and got spray painted, and they had put a little piece of paper in there to cover up that hole so paint wouldn't run through there. And because you can take this little cover off of there and it'll have instructions on how to wire it, on how to wire it 110 or 220. And that little piece of paper had paint on it where it'd run through the factory. And so it'd never been wired up. The knives on it were all brand new and sharp and everything. It'd just been sitting in the school for however many years. So anyway, yeah.
Very cool.
School auctions are a great place to find cheap things, especially when you got like the metal shop and the wood shop are getting rid of things.
And school and old classic books. Of course, I don't know. They're probably all gone now, but just like I've shared
probably
before,
all the good ones, but
some of the old readers were ones from schools that, the schools get rid of routinely all the good classic stuff and bring in garbage to replace it. So,
but eBay is a great place to find old used textbooks. Yeah. Let's see what else.
Let's see. What was it? Oh, somebody asked, do I use any of the machines Patrick has? No. That's his job. Not that I shouldn't learn.
Uses my brake bleeder.
No, that's you stole it and we're using it for bleeding brakes, which is not what I bought it for.
Bought a car at a garage sale.
Yep.
Or an estate sale.
Our newest vehicle, our newest, like just as far as year, 2011.
Yeah, the same place that we bought the 2 new canners. I bought a 2011 Ford Focus.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Focus?
No, not a Focus. Ford.
Starts with an F, doesn't it? Whatever. It's a nice little car.
Ford Fusion.
Yeah,
it's a nice little car. It had low mileage on it. I think it had like under 75,000 miles, something like that.
5,000.
And we got it for $5,000.
That's it.
Well maintained, but
yes, very, very, very good shape.
Yeah.
So it was nice to have just a car that was not a work vehicle, like the trucks have all become work trucks. Full of tools.
Yeah. So when I bought property over there, I asked the guy. I said, "Are you gonna leave the riding lawnmower and stuff?" He said, "Yeah, I'll leave you the riding lawnmower and the tractor and that the 2 riding lawnmowers and a tractor and a little generator and stuff like that. 2 little generators. I mean, there wasn't much, but good nonetheless to fiddle with or have on hand." But what the tractor actually came with a brush hog, so that was essentially free. With the property. So
we got a good deal on the property too, which is pretty surprising for here.
Right.
I remember when property values were so very low, and now it's just for our area, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But
other than that, let's see. I could probably walk through the shop and say, "Man, I should have mentioned this."
A lot of hand tools, a lot of this and that. But really, the point was not, like I was saying earlier, it wasn't even just about showing off all our wonderful finds, because there's a lot more. There's tons more just things that we may use, or even things like I brought these in because I even just picked up cute things to use as decor, like these hand painted little canisters that are pretty much too small to use for anything. There's a set of 3 of them.
Well, I think my point is that you don't,
can.
Some people might look at, well, gosh, how can you guys afford this, and that, and the other thing? And it's like a lot of waiting and a lot of looking.
Yep.
And
a lot of shopping around.
We're definitely not made of money for sure. But,
saving up money
I got a plate compactor for not much money. It had a brand new little Predator motor on there that some guy took and fixed up and I got it for a really good deal. So
yeah, the point being that if you guys are trying to work towards being either more self-sufficient or whether it be putting up food or getting heavy equipment so you can do your own work on maybe that piece of property you're planning on buying, which was the whole reason years ago, long before we even, this was before we even got more serious about doing stuff here, the gardening and whatnot. That long before that, he had invested in the used backhoe and that smaller dump truck and equipment trailer. Right. All three of them. And
now the equipment trailer was new.
Oh, the equipment trailer. Okay. Whatever. Anyway, he invested in this stuff a long time ago.
Right.
We've had those for, gosh, I don't know how long, because we knew there was going to come a point, because I know it was before 2008. I know that for sure. That because we were looking for property back then, and we'd very likely have to buy some bare land property and want to be able to do the work on it ourselves to save money. And so, yeah, it was all these things took time, took shopping around, takes being patient, just like trying to find a good quality dehydrator or, canner or anything else. Somebody even shared that they got a pretty good price on a freeze dryer secondhand, and it still was in good shape. And, if it's something you really want, keep looking. But also remember, there's a lot of things you can make do without, especially when it comes to preserving food. You don't even have to have an electric dehydrator. There's plenty you can do to dry food that costs nothing.
Right.
Nothing in equipment.
Right.
But electric dehydrators are nice because you can keep it all contained and do a whole bunch of stuff instead of having stuff hanging all over the place. But, you got to do what works best for you. And it can be done. And there's so much great, our lawn tools, or, garden tools. Well, our tiller secondhand as well.
Yep. Actually, I had a guy give me his tiller. It was a RT8 snapper. And I went over there and tried to help him get it going or whatever. It's been sitting for a long time out in the weather, this and that. So I tinkered with it a little bit, cleaned up the carburetor, put fresh gas in it, and it ran, but it didn't run really good. And then it seemed like a month later or something like that, he calls up and says, "Hey, Pat, you want that tiller?" Well, what do you want for it? Yeah, he said, "Nothing. Come get the thing." He was frustrated with it. I said, "Well, I'll give you something for it. What do you want?" And he goes, "No, I just want you to have it." And he said, "I figure you can fix it or whatever." And I think I brought him over something that I don't feel I should mention on the channel, but anyway, we've tilled with that thing, and it's kind of been temperamental. So I've did a little more work on the carburetor, and biggest thing on that was just the carburetor was gummed up, and sediment bowl was, just needed to be cleaned out and everything. So, like I said, it's temperamental, but it was free. Gosh, our little cultivator, what do you call them? Little mantis. That was secondhand. I got that at a garage sale and got it for cheap. And the funny thing about those things, like chainsaws and stuff like that don't run, you can get these cheap carburetor rebuild kits or just buy the carburetor, and they're like really cheap stuff to buy, to rebuild some of these things. And I got that little tiller for pretty cheap. The tines were kind of wore out, so I bought new little tines for it and a new carburetor for it, and it runs like new. So
with all that said, obviously there's going to be, with some things, when you're buying stuff secondhand, like especially a lot of the stuff that he's got, where then he had to do the work on this stuff to get it running properly. Obviously, there's going to have to be some skill involved. You're going to have a little bit of knowledge, but don't forget that, Patrick has a lot of videos where he shows, this is why we like to keep all this stuff in that one place. Even though I have 2 channels now, but somebody was saying, hey, you guys should have 2 separate channels. Well, he does have a channel with 1 video on it. And we did that so people would know if they went to his channel, they would know where to find his stuff. So I have a playlist where all his videos are, and I have playlists specifically for his wood miser and certain other things, heavy equipment related stuff. But most of the time when he needs to repair something on any of the vehicles or doing any kind of woodwork, he does videos that show how he's doing it. And a lot of the stuff he learns from watching other people's YouTube videos. So
Right.
we've got this wonderful resource that costs nothing. YouTube University, there's a lot of garbage here, but there's also a lot of really good, knowledgeable people sharing their personal experience. And just like what he does, he might, and I do the same thing. If I'm trying to learn about something, I don't just listen to one person. Just like the whole, if one person tells you this thing and then you latch onto that and maybe that's not right. It's good to get a few different ideas of how something is done, because maybe their method isn't as safe as this person's, or maybe they've got a little bit different technique. It's always good to try to glean this information from several different sources. And that's what he does. Just like when he did the pool table. We got a whole series on the pool table. He had never done all of that. The slate and the fabric and all of that stuff that he did for that pool table, he learned by watching other people's videos and then did his own videos of his process.
Right.
So,
which was a learning, process on my part as well. You can only get so much from a video, but then you have to break in and just do it.
Yep.
And you don't necessarily learn all the tricks to the trade actually until you do it. One perfect example of a secondhand find was the Fill Right pump, transfer pump that I have on the pickup. I kind of got burnt on that a little bit. Well, I didn't kind of get burnt. I got burnt bad. The guy said, "Oh yeah, it came with a tank and it came with a pump." And so I went and thought, okay, well, this is a really good deal. And so I went and picked it up, didn't test it or anything. Shame on me. Brought it home, and the thing was and I got videos on that, rebuilding the pump, and it was just froze up solid. So I took it completely apart, rebuilt it, cleaned it up, and I mean, it's still on a truck today, running great. So a lot of times machinery or equipment just sits around a lot and doesn't get the use it needs to. And that's usually its biggest sin, is just not being used. So engines and things like that, a lot of times those are really simple to work on. Go right straight to the, does it fire a small engine? Does it have spark? And what's the fuel like? Drain the sediment bowl, drain the tank. If the fuel smells kind of lacquer-like and it looks a little bit brown or something, drain it out, clean it out, put new fuel in it, make sure it's got good spark, and generally the thing will run.
Brenda, she's asking, does Mr. Rain have a video on refurbishing a wood stove? I guess it's cast iron. Ours is cast iron, right? Or is it?
Well, it's
the top
steel.
is.
Yeah. No, well, it's steel.
The top is steel?
No, we don't have a cast iron stove.
Okay. I guess I don't know what I'm talking about.
I found an old cast iron stove out of an old house. It's actually an old Sears and Roebuck stove. It's it's about, oh gosh, maybe a foot wide and 2 feet deep, and has a couple of burner eyes on it that you can lift out of it. And it's an old cast iron.
Okay.
Wood
Well,
stove.
but what he does have, I'll finish answering the question. He did one on replacing the bricks.
Oh.
Which we're gonna have to get some more new bricks. Bricks are expensive to buy for a wood stove.
Yeah, I actually have an extra set, so when I go to replace these bricks in the stove now, I'll do that in the summer. I will actually go and buy another set to have another set on hand.
Because the bricks,
so I bought this set
after
a long time ago at yesterday's prices, and now I'll probably have to pay double to replace the ones that I'm replacing now, because when we go to replace those in a few years, it's going to be quadruple, right? So anyway.
And for the person, I don't know if it was Brenda or somebody else, I can't remember. It was a ways up. Somebody was asking about a good wood stove. I can tell you what ours is. Ours is a quadrifire. And I love it because I love the size. With the whole flat top, not a step top. If you're looking to get like a freestanding wood stove that you're going to use to heat your house, but you want to be able to cook on it, you want to make sure don't get a step top. Because you're just really limiting your space.
Yeah.
You can only put pans of a certain size on there. We got the biggest one with a flat top that we could get, and I can have all kinds of stuff going on there at once, and I love it for that. The one thing I don't love is the way the handle constantly loosens up, and you got to always tighten it. And he's even fabricated all new handles because they wear out fast. Where you're open, and then it gets to where it's so loose it doesn't pull the door tight enough sometimes, and then he's got to get in there and tighten everything up. That's the only thing about it I don't like. But it has the glass front. But there's lots of great wood stoves out there, and I'm not going to say the one we have is the best. I think style, though, is going to really matter, and size, depending on your space and how you plan on using it. But yeah, when we first went from, what did we do? When we got this place, it had an insert.
Yeah, insert.
So that's what they did when they would take, like, because these homes around here were all built with fireplaces, just open fireplaces. Then eventually a lot of people got inserts, and that's what had happened with this house. And inserts are fine, but they just don't, you can't cook on them unless you have a big enough shelf sticking out the front of it. But even then you're not getting so much of the direct heat. We didn't have that. We didn't have anything you could put anything on to even heat. So then when we got this place, the other thing about this room, and this was before we expanded it, it had been a 2-car garage that had been converted into a family room. And they had a wood stove here. In fact, right behind me here, this chunk of wall, this is brick, because this is actually the fireplace from the other room. And you see a bunch of stuff there. So this is the chimney here. This is my board breaker for martial arts. But anyway,
behind that is where I patched the hole where the old fire.
Yeah. So somebody had
there's a freestanding.
Yeah, they had a freestanding wood stove in here, and they'd patched it into the chimney from this side. But when I started classes, that all had to go, especially because the room was half the size it is now. And we saved that. And for a while that became, when we had the mason guy and chimney guy, he redid all the brickwork, and we had that freestanding wood stove put in there, and it was a game changer, but it was a step top. Now that same wood stove is sitting out on the wood on the deck, on our back deck. So you'll see it in some of my deck garden videos with pots on it. I used to have strawberry pots on there. Now I've got like thyme and a few other herbs there. But so it's more of a decorative piece for the deck. I liked it there, so we just left it.
That's a Frontier 1980 Frontier.
It was a good wood stove. It just, the step
impractical
top,
for what she wanted
right,
to do, to multitask.
When I got into really wanting to cook on that thing, which I still did, but I could only use certain size pans and pots. So then we upgraded to this bigger wood stove, got the biggest one we could fit into that area where the fireplace once was. And it just fit in there too. But I love it. So, but yeah, just do some shopping around. I mean, I know I love ours other than the handle issue, but it doesn't mean it's the only or the best one out there.
Yeah, there are several different ways that they shut a door on those things, and most of them don't have bearings or anything like that. They're, it's metal on metal. We use ours like 9 months out of the year, so So it gets a lot of use.
It
I mean, there's a
does.
fire in it all winter
Yep.
long. So
Yep.
it gets open and
All
shut quite a bit.
spring, all fall.
Yeah.
Yep. Fall through spring. 9 months
So
that wood stove's
just
running.
I just build new handles for it. And just, you know, because if you buy handles for them, they're astronomical. So I just get 1/2 inch rod, solid rod, and just make my own handles and turn them on the wood lathe. Oh, actually, the metal lathe. That's another thing I got secondhand at in the estate sale. A lot of times the estate sales, you really got to watch them because they can really get you on some of those estate sales. But I went to an estate sale that had a South Bend 9 metal lathe. I mean, it's like it's an old belt driven lathe. But it was in really good shape, and I got it for $350 with all the tooling and everything with it. So I've made several different parts with that. But yeah, that was, we don't pay big money for things.
Now we have looked at like cook stoves, with the oven, but we wouldn't have a good place for it here unless we put it in this room and then patched it in where we're showing you there.
Right.
We
I looked at them quite a bit.
Yeah,
but we still haven't found something that either fits our wants and also fits the budget. I would actually like to get one that would, go for the off-grid property.
Right.
So,
well, at least we have a wood stove for out there, but yeah, having a cook stove, like a real cook stove where you have the oven built in. Because anything on a regular wood stove, you can cook anything on top of it that you can cook on a cook stove. The difference with a cook stove is it has the oven. That's, and then you usually have your warmers at the top and all that fancy stuff. And I love them and would love to have one. It's just we don't have an ideal place for it. It wouldn't work out in our kitchen, and in our living room, certainly not where our wood stove is. This would be the only place is over here in the corner. And then we'd have to rearrange a lot of stuff, a lot of this furniture, because it would stick out quite a ways.
It's definitely doable, but
it's doable, but we definitely have to do some rearranging.
The way we have the existing stove right now, it's got stainless steel chimney. Everything's stainless steel that runs up that. So I don't know how practical that is. I'm sure that there's probably a way you can run a Y in through there, but I don't know. I'd have to research that one.
But anyway, so I think that was pretty much it for all the things that I wanted to cover today. And don't forget, I have written down a few questions I came across in the chat so far. And I still have some other from the other live, a more recent live show. I need to still go through that and find some more questions because I know they're in there that I've missed. And I'll be answering those this coming Wednesday. So again, all my live shows now will be on this channel, but I'll still be taking like the main topics and the main points and then, making a shorter video out of it and then being able to add pictures and video clips and stuff and then putting them on my main channel. So now that the live shows are all happening here, you'll see twice a week those coming out, but it will be down the road because I'm so far ahead on videos. But probably about 6 weeks, you'll start seeing 2 of those a week over there. And then just like now, we got the 2 live shows going on here. And again, sorry for the confusion at the beginning. I think it was just a lot of different things with that video publishing and the name change for this channel, so I could kind of set it apart. And I do hope to have more like standalone videos to put here just to keep things going. But I will keep putting shorts and then the live shows here, and that will set it apart from the main channel in that way for now. And then if that one goes away all of a sudden for no reason, I feel pretty good at that now about it, even though I still haven't seen things kind of going back to normal yet. I think everything's going to be okay. I have a pretty good feeling about it. So hopefully we can even just go ahead and keep both channels. That would be cool because there's a lot of hard work that went into my original channel. A lot. But I'm glad I have this backup, and I'm glad that I can also be able to have a place to just say, okay, here's where the live shows are going to be. So that just kind of makes it sort of cool.
And the only reason why we're here is because you guys. I mean, you guys have made her channel the way what it is today, and we really appreciate all you do. If we didn't have your support in whatever fashion, we'd have to do something different, to earn income and whatnot. So we really appreciate just the time you spend with us, and we learn from each other. You guys give us ideas on what things that we can put out as video, so you guys can learn and we can learn from you. We really appreciate it.
So thanks
like, subscribe, and share.
Yeah, that too. So thanks for coming in all. Love ya. Take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next live.